Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. I am Ben, and I am joined today by Craig from Mansfield Matters. How you doing, mate? You keeping well?
I'm great, thank you. It's great to finally be back in the same league after so long.
I was going to say it's been a little while, but obviously, you know, we're looking ahead to the game at the Bank on Saturday against Mansfield Town. As you say, finally back in the same division after a few years apart. And I think that's probably the first question really is, you know, obviously it's taken a little while to get yourselves back up, but how good is it to just be back in, you know, back in League One?
It's just a relief for me. It's been 21, 22 years since we were last in League One. We've certainly been close over the last 5, 6 seasons or so. We've always been there or thereabouts, and especially the last 3 seasons, we've sort of been knocking on the door with some force and nobody's answered. And last year we started really, really well. You know, we went unbeaten until sort of, you know, mid to late October time, and things were looking really, really good. We had a little bit of a dip towards the end, and we were thinking, are we going to get there? But I think we always believed, and it's great to be back up there now. I think the thing for us is, you know, it's all right being up there, but it's staying there and sort of doing similar to what you guys have done yourselves, really, which is once you've got there, stabilize and then try and push forward for the future. We don't want to be this one season wonder of a club. We don't want to go straight back down. We want to compete, and I think all eyes this year are looking at building a squad and sort of, you know, trying to do the best that we can to stay there and hopefully, you know, in the future do what you guys have done and try and sort of compete at the top end of the table and maybe sort of dare to dream of going one step higher in the next decade or so.
So yeah, I mean, it is so strange sometimes, like seeing other clubs saying, "Oh, you know, we're looking to Lincoln as inspiration for some stuff." It's spoke to Dave from Burton the other week about you know, how they're setting up their new era, if you like, and it sounded incredibly similar. So, but is that the aim for the season then, just to kind of really not be looking down all season and say to yourselves, right, let's just survive this season, build next year, and then go again, or however long it will take?
100%. I think, you know, whenever you get promoted, the last thing you want to do is go straight back down. We've managed to keep a manager who's, you know, been with us a long time now, and I think it's fair to say that longevity in football it's a very rare thing, isn't it? So with Nigel Clough, he's sort of built a squad over the last 3, 4 years that's capable of sort of competing. And I think we are capable of competing at League One. But yeah, very much the aim is keep the core of the group together, add quality in areas where we can, and, you know, just sort of enjoy the ride, not give too many silly goals away, not be looking over our shoulder, and sort of, if we can get to Christmas and sort of maybe get 8 to 10 wins under our belt before Christmas, I think that stands us in good stead. And, you know, next year is, I don't think anyone is as deluded as certain Welsh clubs to think that we might get, you know, back-to-back promotions. And, you know, it's just all about enjoying the ride, isn't it? And you know, we've got plenty of years to come to look to go to the future. So let's not run before we can walk, shall we?
Absolutely. No, it's yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussions around certain Welsh clubs throughout the season as it all unfolds, but we'll see on that one. But I mean, you mentioned there about keeping like a core of a squad together and building on it, bringing in quality where it's needed. Looking through the transfers, I think I'm right in saying there was only really 6 that came in so far over the window. Is it? Are you expecting more to come in, and how have the new lads settled in the 2 or 3 games that you've seen so far?
Nigel Clough is sort of talking about a potential 2 in, but that also means 2 going out. So it's
Right.
it's 6 one, half dozen the other. Really, it's whether or not we replace those 2 strikers, Tom Nichols and Will Swan, are the 2 that are rumoured to be going out, with other quality additions. So it's whether we can improve on what we let go, if that makes sense. But certainly the 6 that have come in, I think the business that we've done is very, very shrewd. Ben Quinn is sort of an anomaly in that he's the nephew of Stephen Quinn. And if Stephen Quinn says, sign my nephew, sign my kids, whatever, you just do it to keep him around because he's that sort of a legend. Whatever you want, Quinny, that's fine. We'll get it done for you. The others, we've made, you know, 4 free transfers, which have been really, really good additions. Desiojalaja, or as we call him on our podcast, Dave, because it's just easier. A real rock for us. He was playing as a 10 for Burton last year at this level. He's playing centre back for us at the minute with injuries and what have you. And he looks really, really solid. Keanu Bacchus is a real talent, which is coming from Scotland, obviously Australian international as well. He seems to be a really exciting player. Lee Gregor, everybody knows at this level. And then Fraser Blake Tracy's injured, so he won't play on Saturday, but he's coming at left back and looks quite decent. Then the only one that we've paid a fee for is Will Evans, who we've brought in from Newport, who looks an absolute class addition so far. Really exciting that forward line, and will really add to it. I think we feel as fans that we probably need another two in, probably in more defensive areas. But Nigel Clough, if he says that he's going to bring in two strikers, you know that he's going to bring in two strikers, and that's going to be it. He's very honest in what he says, and you've got full faith in him. We've got a lot of players that are injured as well at the minute as well. So when we get those back fit, sort of November, December, maybe early January time, when we've got our full squad fully fit, I don't think there'll be any worries defensively or what have you. So it's just about biding your time. I think you learn under Nigel Clough as time goes on that patience is very much a virtue. And if you're patient enough and you're willing to sit and see it out, good things will happen. But if you're not patient, get off the bus and go and watch something else.
Yeah, I can empathise with that one for sure. Like it's I suppose that's the thing when you're coming up to a new division, you've got to learn that okay, we're not going to steamroll it. We're just going to have to take it slowly. There will be some bad results. There'll obviously be some great results to come. Hopefully not for you guys at the weekend, but we'll come on to that one. But as you said, you've got those 6 new signings. They're settling into the group. How is it at the minute that Mansfield are setting up and playing? Is it differing from last season too much, or is it kind of more of the same but with a little bit more quality in the side?
It's the same, but with a slight little bit of a twist. I think we are learning a few lessons about this level. The key one is, we go to Barnsley on the opening day and we tune it up quite early doors. We're playing the way that we were in League Two. It's looking quite good. And then they score a very freak goal and that really rocks us. And then for the rest of the 60, 70 minutes, we're getting peppered and we're clinging on and we defend superbly. They miss a few gilt-edged chances. We make a couple of good saves and we get away with it. The Burton home game, you're looking at that as a side that's wanting to stay in the division. You're thinking, well, these are the games that must win. But then you've got to remember that Burton have signed about 9,000 players and had a takeover, and they're gelling as a group as well. So they're a very different prospect to the Burton side that fans are used to, and they come and give us a real good game. Again, we score quite early. We then make a mistake and give away a cheap goal, 1-1, and it just goes. It's one of those games which the pendulum swings, and at one point, we're losing 3-2, and we're thinking, Christ, we've lost our first game in League One, but we really commit to it at home, and we've got a side that really do play to the very last whistle and don't give up, and we get a penalty and we stick it away for 3-3, and we're very happy to walk away at 3-3. And I think what we've learned from that is, in League Two, we miss an abundance of chances and we get away with it. In League One, we miss an abundance of chances like we did against Burton, like we did against Rotherham in the Car Cup or whatever it's called this year on Tuesday night, and we get punished for it. And that's the difference between the levels, really. And that's what we learn in sort of early doors. So we're very much playing how we were last year. We try and play on the front foot. We try and play possession-based football through the midfield. We try and get the ball into the box, try and get crosses into a good area. And we try and take our chances where we can. I just think defensively, we're a little bit not as sharp as what we were last year. We've obviously got Aidan Flint at the back. He had his worst game in a Mansfield shirt against Burton. He came out on Instagram and apologised straight away. So I'd expect a bit of resurgence from him. But you just never know at this level, do you? I think Nigel Clough plays the Nigel Clough way, and he doesn't deter, he doesn't alternate from that. He's very stubborn. So it's worked so far for us. So as long as we get him through enough games and we're being hard to beat, I think that's all any fan can ask for, really, isn't it, at this level?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the philosophy that we've had as a club for a while, where it was, okay, well, if you're hard to beat first, then you build on that, and then you start getting the wins, and it's serving us quite well at the moment. So, but I mean, you mentioned there about the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, I think it is now. Like I say, you can never remember how many sponsors you've got on there. But I caught most of that game there, and I was I was actually really impressed. I know we were just having a quick chat off air, and you said there that there's nine. There were nine first team changes
Mm.
made in that game. So is it more that is the kind of the DNA that's flowing through the club, in that you want to play that way, so everybody does that? Because I think some of the criticisms that we had when we went out of the Carabao last week was that we changed a lot of the style of football from the first game of the season in that game, and we were doing a bit of experimentation, and it didn't quite pull off for everybody as much as we'd hoped. But is it that, no, this is the way that we're playing, it's going to be the same in the league, it's going to be the same in the cup, and this is what to expect?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels in that. I think it might have been more than 9 changes actually, and then I can't quite remember. Obviously, you got the rules and stuff, which I think it's something like 4 players, isn't it, from the squad that play the match
Yeah.
that have got to be in the squad. But yeah, in terms of the way we play, Nigel Clough, he did use it to experiment a little bit, especially in the second half, but that's mainly due to the personnel that were available to him at the time. He tries to play the same regardless of the competition. His mantra is, "I want to win football matches," and
Mm.
that he says the importance of them that alternates depending on the competition. The league is always your bread and butter. The FA Cup's is second. Then it comes the Carabao Cup. And to be fair, we gave a good account of ourselves against Bolton. We made 9 changes in that game, played exactly the same way, lost on penalties. It
Mm.
is what it is. Um, and then the bottom of his priority list is always this cup competition. But we might have lost the game last night, but we've still got another 2 games in the group stage, so anything could happen. Pendulum could swing, so you never really know. But in terms of the way we play, yeah, it's very much the same. He likes to set up with a predominantly with a back 4, and you might see a striker playing at fullback. That's just what Nigel Clough does, or at centre back. And then we try and sort of play through the midfield, and it's quite fluid then, whether there's one behind the front 2 or whether there's 2 behind a front 1. It depends on what personnel he's got available to him. It's very fluid in that. So I would predominantly say we play with a back 4, and then anything goes after that. There's a couple of times where we come up against the cosh a little bit. We did it against Barnsley, where we'll go to a back 5 and we'll try and play with wing backs. But that's new this season. He didn't do that at all last season. It was very much back 4 and anything goes after that. And then this year, he'll maybe try and go with the 3 centre backs, because he's got the players like Oshalaja now, Dave. He's got Aidan Flynn. He's got Bailey Cargill coming back. He's got Jordan Bowery, Lucas Akins that can play in there, George Williams. So it's very much about protecting his own goal and then just trying to. Whereas team this year, I think he's trying to go for a team that will try and press high up the pitch, win back possession, and try and turn teams over that way, rather than trying to play with a bit of energy like we did last year. So I think as long as we try and be solid at the back, I think
Yeah.
we're quite happy with that.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough. And yeah, I mean, you say being solid at the back. I should probably mention, like, I know you've got 2 keepers on the books there that
Mm.
I'm a little bit fond of, if I'm honest. Like, if they were, if they were free agents, I'd probably say I would like to see them at my club as well. I mean, Christy Pym, fantastic goalkeeper, wherever he's been, and also Scott Flinders as well. I think I think Scott Flinders holds a little bit of a place in a lot of Lincoln fans' hearts, because he was the goalkeeper for, if I remember rightly, I believe he was the goalkeeper for Macclesfield the day that we went up. So it's one of those. But I could have got that completely wrong, by the way. But yeah, we do occasionally like to try and see about former imps in opposition squads. Obviously, you guys got Aaron Lewis
Yeah,
at the moment. He featured on Tuesday night. Was he one of the changes that was brought in?
yeah. Aaron
So
is not necessarily what I'd put in Clough's first 11, which is a bit of a shame, really. I quite like Aaron Lewis, but I'm quite surprised at where Clough plays. I mean, there's 2 Aaron Lewises. There's the Aaron Lewis when he had his bleach blonde sort of curtain hair, when he was semi-decent, sort of playing on the right-hand side of a midfield 3. And then there's the Aaron Lewis that looks something like an 80s adult film star with his moustache and mullet. It's not a great look, Aaron. What are you doing? He's a good player. He's combative in midfield, isn't he? He likes to get stuck in. He can pass. He can move the ball quite well. Defensively, he's quite good. But for whatever reason, he didn't have the greatest of games on Tuesday. Maybe a little bit ring rusty potentially. But I quite like him because I like the long throw. He's got that in his locker, but Nigel Clough doesn't use it. So that's a rant I have quite often. He's a decent player for us, but I would probably say that in terms of the midfield pecking order, he's probably 4th or 5th on that list at the minute for one set position.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, let's look ahead to Saturday then. Obviously, we're aware of where Mansfield are at the moment as a club and what they're looking to do going forward. But in the immediacy, with regards to Saturday, have you seen much of Lincoln this season? I know we've only had a couple of games so far, but have you seen anything of as either this year or sort of towards the back end of last season, which was probably when Lincoln fans would have wanted opposition fans to look at us, to be honest. And how are you expecting Mansfield to set up and come at? Well, are you expecting them to come at you, come at us, or are you expecting to kind of okay, let's soak up a bit of pressure and then hit on the break, or what are you expecting?
I don't think Mansfield, apart from maybe one or two games this season, will ever sort of sit back and soak up pressure. I think Nigel Clough always wants his side to play on the front foot. He always wants to go out early, and we tend to start games well. We tend to start with a lot of energy. I think we'll probably revert back to how we played against Burton. There might be one or two changes in there depending on personnel being fit. So obviously at the minute we've Aidan Flint missed Tuesday night. Lewis Reed missed Tuesday night, both sort of struggling a little bit with Achilles problems. But Aidan Flint's as tough as nails. He'll want to play and he'll want to perform better than what he did by his own admission against Burton. I don't think the back four will change, so it will probably be, which is a little bit of a worry. Akins at right back and Bowery at left back because Blake Tracy's injured and Stephen McLaughlin and Callum McDonald nowhere near being fit enough to start 90 minutes. So the back four won't change. So it'd be Akins, Flint, Oshalaja, Dave, and Bowery. Midfield wise, again, I don't see him changing too much. So Lewis Reed will sit in front of the back four. Keanu Bacchus will go one side. Stephen Quinn will go the other. And then it'll probably be Davis Keeler done in behind Will Evans and Lee Gregory. I don't see it changing unless the injuries call for it. We'll play on the front foot. We'll probably expect a little bit of pressure from you guys. Obviously, there's a little bit of a derby element to it as well due to the locality of it. There'll be a big crowd in for the game. And I think what we'll look at it is, like we were saying earlier on, we look at Lincoln as a side that we want to sort of follow the footsteps in. Obviously, you guys were in the non-league for a little bit, as were we. It's a not a nice division to get out of, and then obviously we've seen you progress through League Two and really sort of dig your heels in League One and become an established League One club, and that's exactly what we aspire to be. We look at you guys in probably as a side that will be pushing towards the playoffs again this season, and we want to take points off teams like that. Really, we want to really go and spoil your day on your home turf. We'll be happy to come away with a point, but I think at this stage of the season, you've had similar results to ourselves. There's no reason why we can't come to your place and get all 3 points. At this stage of the campaign, taking those points for a side like ourselves, who are predominantly wanting to stay in the division at this stage, is critical, really. Like I said earlier, we're looking at potentially 8 to 10 wins before Christmas. With a couple of draws thrown in, will stand us in good stead generally. So I think this is the time to do it. Nigel Clough won't have been too happy with what he saw against Burton in terms of the silly mistakes we made. He won't have been too happy with some of the mistakes that we made against Rotherham either. So he'll be wanting to cut those out and really just maybe try and get through a game and keep a clean sheet. We've not done that yet in League One, so I think that's the next objective is a clean sheet. Whether or not it will come at your guys, I wouldn't expect it to, but I think it'll be a close game, which I think if we start well and we get confidence, we might just edge.
Okay, well, let's put your neck on the line then, and let's go for it because we do like to do the prediction for the obvious clickbait. How do you see it going at the weekend?
I've got to back Mansfield, haven't I? I'm going to go. We'll start well, and I think Will Evans is due a goal. I'm going to go 3-1 Mansfield, but with a little bit of nervousness in there. I'm going to go. It's going to be 1-1 until probably the 70th minute, and then it's just going to open up.
Well, I mean, I'm going to have to counter that, aren't I? I'm going to have to say 2-0 Lincoln. I think it's. I think I think we're in need of a clean sheet ourselves, to be honest. We've got a new keeper in over the summer. I think there's been a little bit of criticism, admittedly, some of it from myself, particularly for one of the goals on Saturday. But I think we're probably a week on the grass, get a clean sheet in the in the bag, and then hopefully get the strikers on form so that I think by the end of the game, maybe all the strikers will have a goal to the name this early on in the campaign. But yeah, no, it's good to have Mansfield back in, like you say, just for that sort of semi-local derby element to it. I will always remember my trips away to the One Call, and some of the characters, shall we say, as I found on the way back to the car. But look, it's been a pleasure having you on, mate. It's been a pleasure having you on. 30 seconds if you want to give yourself a bit of a plug, let people know where they can find you.
No, thanks for having us. Yeah, we're just at MTFC Matters on X or Facebook, and we're on YouTube as well. Yeah, come and say hello. We're always friendly, always like a bit of banter, and looking forward to visiting you guys on Saturday.
Super stuff. Well, that's it for now, guys, and until next time, up the Imps.
Lincoln City are the team, the Ravens is their name. Stinsel Bankers their home ground, and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you lads, support them all the way. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white, the Imps are here to stay. Oh.